Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be. Wonderful people of the internet, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all the platforms. How are we? Hope you're doing very well. As you can see, I've got a new chair. Well, you can't see, but you can see, if you know what I mean, because I couldn't swing around like this on a normal chair. It's only I've got one of those proper. What do you call it? You're the expert, Lou, because you're the one who's like full-time YouTube content creator. What do you call these chairs?
A swivel chair?
That's the one. Swivel chair, that'll do. Anything more technical? Anything more technical than a swivel chair will just be beyond me.
Google it.
Swivel chair will do. Lola, what was you saying?
I think it's a gaming chair, and for me, that screams like that screams podcast nerd in a good way.
In a good way.
I was going to say, I was like, whoa.
Definitely not me. It's definitely not me.
I'm not coming for you. I'm not coming for you.
People, welcome back to the Red Room, where Liverpool fans get together and talk all things Liverpool Football Club predominantly. Sometimes we may be pissed off and not want to talk about Liverpool. We can talk about, I don't know, Sporting Lisbon's comeback today. I don't know if you want to start off with that, Keith. What a comeback. But you were saying that we need, and I was suggesting, does that mean there's any more comebacks? Have they set the tone for the night? Because there's another 3-goal deficit, 2 3-goal deficits. What do we want?
Well, if you think about it, the whole premise of finishing in the top 8 was to have opportunities like this. So Sporting are the first one, because they did finish in the top 8, to take advantage of home leg in the second round. I was quite surprised at how quickly everyone was like, yeah, English teams are washed, it's finished, it's this, that, and the other. 90 minutes of football still to play, anything can happen. And this season, I'm bitter, Grizz. I'm not a romantic. So I'm happy that Sporting Lisbon are about to knock Bodo Glimt out. I don't want to see joy. I don't want to see fairy tales. This ain't the season for that. You hear me? So go on, Sporting Lisbon, get that 5th, and we'll see what happens later on.
Oh, we'll see what happens later. That glint in your eye is still there. I'm going to try to extract that glint by the end of the show, but we'll see how we get on. Lola, how are we doing? How are you doing? How's your latest? I'm just humbled that Lola's joining us, like, Sky Sports star joining me on the Red Room. I feel humbled, man. Thank you for making an appearance on our little platform as well.
Just growing. No, I'm pleased to be here. I feel like I vented. I'm still really angry, to be clear. And I messaged you last night saying I thought sleeping on it would make me feel better, and I'm still angry. So I'm still there, but definitely the hour I spent with Gags after the match just ranting, it does make you feel better. It does. It's good to talk. It's good to get it off your chest. But I'm sort of finding, at this stage, it's like the stages of grief. I'm at this stage after a Liverpool bad result, I start to begin to come out of my shell and listen to what everybody else has to say about it. And I have to say that when I listen to people whose opinions I really respect about Liverpool, identifying some of the problems that I've found really frustrating all season, it does actually just make me feel more angry. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be here with you guys, but I'm angry.
No, as long as you're happy to be with us, guys. I mean, that's the main thing. Look, the Liverpool emotions, we know they fluctuate like mad this season, Lou. Sometimes I'm at that stage where you just laugh, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And what's the point of crying? Like, I don't think I've cried in ages. Like, actually, I lie. I cried when we won the title, of course, yeah. Some of the scenes at Anfield. Fast forward a season, we played Spurs at Anfield, another sunny day. But what a contrast of emotions, Lou. I'll come to you first. Before, during, and afterwards.
Optimistic going into it. I went on Redmen the day before, and we all give score predictions. Me and Steve were talking about it, and we were saying, look, this has to be a dominant performance for the sheer fact of the players that are missing in that team, the squad they've got, the managerial turmoil, which makes our slot predicament look like Wonderland. You know, it's such a mess there, and yet coming out of it, I wasn't surprised. And that's the biggest statement of it, is there was no part of me coming out of that match which thought, God, how did we manage that? How did this go the way it did? Because the proof's been there all season. The same issues we saw in that Tottenham match, we've seen so many different stages of the season. Forest, PSV, Leeds, Sunderland, Burnley, Wolves, United, Chelsea, Palace, like Galatasaray. It's just over and over and over again. And it's, like Lola said before, it's upsetting now at this point, because the things that we've been saying for so long, other people are starting to click now and go, right, this is the problem, this is the problem. But it's been that obvious for that long that it's just frustrating that we're at this stage and it's only just appearing to some people. And that Tottenham game on paper should have been our easiest win this season because of the squad that they haven't got at the moment. And we were passive, creatively stunned to the game. It's the same things over and over and over again, and it just feels like you're sort of shouting into the ether. And we're playing Galatasaray now, which I know we're going to get onto shortly. I'm not jumping the gun, but I should be going into that second leg at Anfield thinking, easy, rotate, do what you need to do. I'm not confident at all, and that should not be the case in around the 16 match against a Turkish side coming to Anfield only 1-0 up. But the Tottenham game just completely sapped all sort of confidence in me, and I don't want to be a negative fan, but it's the same thing that's been going on since that cup final last season in February, or March even. So, the proof's been there for over a year now. It's just everyone's catching up with it.
Lola, while Lewis was giving us his thoughts, I created a magnificent banner in the background. And it says as follows: Spurs game was worst of season, ? Excuse the English if it doesn't make complete sense, but you get the gist. Because Mr. London LFC says the draw to a depleted Spurs side at home was truly a new low. Seems he has lost the dressing room and now the fans have turned. What do you make of that statement? Was it the lowest of lows considering the other defeats that we've had? I'm thinking Forest 3-0, was it? Was Forest 3-0?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to...
I want to swear, but I can't swear. It's too early in the show to swear, but I've just remembered we lost 3-0 to Forest as well at home. Sorry, Lola, go.
Well, I'd like to sit on the fence on this one, because yes and no. Yes, in the sense that contextually, the stuff around Tottenham, like Lou was saying, with their injuries, their form, the ridiculousness around, are they going to sack the interim manager before the game? That does, and the manner of the performance, all of that, awful. And in the immediate aftermath, you're going, oh my God, that is the worst that it's been. But I think the wider problem and the reason that Spurs was so terrible is because, like Lou says, nothing changes. It's March, and the very same issues that you saw when Bournemouth came to Anfield in August, wide open midfield, calamitous defending, lack of creativity, not taking chances, all of that is there in the Tottenham performance. So it's not unlike any of the other poor performances, but therein lies the problem. And just like Lou, I wasn't remotely surprised. I sat and watched the game with my mum, and there was a lot of talk pre-match predictions. I think Henri was in the studio. He was very confident of a Liverpool win. And I was like, really? How can you be? Have you not watched Liverpool this season? And on around the 70th minute, I turned to my mum and said, I know what's going to happen here. Richarlison's going to score in the 89th minute. And then, actually, no, I said they'll equalise in the 89th minute and they'll win it in stoppage time with Richarlison. So I was wrong slightly, but not nearly as wrong as I'd like to be. And the point is, if you start being able to predict the future with your football team, 90th plus minute goals conceded in the Premier League this season, if you start being able to see the script, there is a big problem, and it's March.
That's a great point. Mr. Keith Cross. Don't know if you watch the Mob Watch Along, because I know you like watching us idiots. But just like Lola, they were like, "What's the matter with you? Why are you so?" I said, "Listen, I know my club, I know my team, and I'm telling you now, I'm nervous. And I was nervous at the start and nervous during the game. And then around the 80th minute, I said, Spurs are about to score, lads. And I just sat back and I stayed quiet for the next 10 minutes because I could see it coming. You know, I just want to know your thoughts, man. I haven't spoken to you about it since because I probably would have started swearing at you if we luckily we haven't spoken since. We would have had an argument. Me and you would have had an argument.
Well, it was close. It was close on Friday. It got tense. It was got heated on Friday.
I just want to know your thoughts and opinions. Like, what was that? What was it?
The best way for me to describe something like that is to go back to an era around the time of pretty much every single manager's final season with us.
Final sort of final phase where you feel that like, listen, you know, Brendan Rodgers had that feeling, Rafa Benitez had that feeling, you know what I mean? Even the likes of Kenny, you had that feeling that it got to a point where it just felt like is a need for a change, you know. And I think there's a big difference between needing a change because Arne's not a very good manager and needing change because the situation has just failed, you know what I mean? And it's very hard to regain that level of impetus when things fail at big clubs. I always feel like teams like Liverpool, Manchester United, City, like if you get into this area and in particular when the fans start voting with their feet and actually don't, you know, walk off after 80 minutes even before the equalizer went in, then I think that's when it becomes very like, you know, even the most positive fan like myself who said, you know, there's been signs. We've not, my only like counter to a lot of arguments in relation to poor and stuff like that is it's not been last season, absolutely. But it's not been a situation where I've left games for the majority of the time thinking, oh wow, you know, we just got completely outplayed, got boxed in, couldn't really create anything, and you know, we were lucky to get away with a draw or whatever. You know, there is something to the psychology of the team to suggest that this team has let in a goal in the 90th minute 10 times this season, a Premier League record. So there's something more to it than just simply saying that we're not tactically good enough to win a football match. But then why are we in these football matches until the 90th minute? Surely we're doing something right. So that's where it becomes a little bit more like psychological. Has something cracked within the team, within the squad? Are now players starting to really just be like they hear the message, but it's just not going to their hearts anymore. You know, that message that Slot's talking about, it's just they're not feeling it as much anymore, and they're just kind of going through the motions. Because people have said to me a lot, I've had this debate a lot, as you've seen on X. People said to me, no, how can so many players be off form? How can so many players be playing so badly? This is a quality squad. And now I'm starting to think there's something more to it than just poor performances. But I still maintain that the players, and particularly the Tottenham game is another example, have not lived up to the hype. And that's another uncomfortable conversation that us Liverpool fans have to have in relation to the summer transfer window. I don't think it's uncomfortable. I don't think it's uncomfortable at all, guys. I honestly, I don't think there's any conversation that is uncomfortable anymore. I literally don't. There's no uncomfortable conversation. Every conversation has to be had. And we'll get into sort of the rumors around our current director of football. Is that his title? He's the director of football, isn't he? He's not the sporting director.
Yeah.
Sporting director. Yeah, sporting director. We'll get into the Hughes chat and various other things. But Lou, very quickly going through the Spurs debacle, embarrassment, whatever you want to call it, just very quickly with the lineup he made. Hindsight, would you have expected or wanted less changes, or any effing lineup should have been enough for Spurs?
Yeah, I think at that point, anything should have been enough against that Tottenham team. The like I said, the players they were missing the first time they've lost 6 in a row. I am happy that Ngamoa started, because I said in the Daily Red, but literally before that game was tailor-made for Rio Ngamoa, that depleted Tottenham backline. He had to start that one. I don't know what Gakpo's got on slot. I understand Ekitike needs a rest, but I don't understand what he's got on him where he's constantly having to start through the middle or start out wide.
He played well.
He did. But the bar's not exactly like. Do you know what I mean? It is playing well, but it's still not to a good enough standard. I get the rotation. I understand that Ekitike needs the rest. I understand why he did it. I completely agree with it, but I don't know. I don't even think it was start like Szoboszlai right back again. Just I don't know. I'm in one of those situations now where no matter what starting lineup we seem to put out, something seems to be wrong on the pitch when we're watching it. So at this point, I just sort of go with it and go, you know what? It is what it is. There will be a plan there, surely. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
But isn't it damning? Sorry, I just have to mention this point, talking about that squad. Wasn't it damning that Curtis Jones was not in the 11 of that, given the fact that at the most, Arne Slot has been telling us that he sees him as a decent right back, as well as obviously in the sentiment. He said that Slot has said that to us, right? That Curtis Jones can play there. So why didn't Curtis Jones play there? You know what? A lot of the times I block out the noise of you Keens and stuff like that. But I actually agree with them. A lot of pundits have come out and said, what the hell was he doing in a game like that, putting Szoboszlai at right back? You know what I mean? Especially the season he's had. So I just need to add that point. I don't know what's happened with Jones, but I was shocked he was not in that lineup, at least at right back.
Yeah, I think Curtis Jones, is very, very evident without being a conspiracy theorist or, I think it's very evident that there's been some form of falling out. And I genuinely don't think Jones will stay if Slot stays. I literally think one of them will remain, and we'll get onto that as well. Lola, I don't know where you want to take that game. We must finish it off, I guess. And like you said, Richarlison was just lurking, was just there, wasn't he? Annoying us. We score with a Dominic Szoboszlai free kick. I didn't even really celebrate it because it was such shit keeping. And then as per, we just died a dog's death after that. Like, we take the lead and we're one more goal and the house of Spurs would have crumbled. But we just didn't have any ambition, any energy, any creativity, endeavor. Use any effing word you want to use. We had none of that apart from young Rio.
I think there's so many issues that come to mind when you talk about the performance. There's issues around controlling the game. There's issue around goal threat from open play, legs, and we talked about all of these things at length. I think actually one of the most frustrating parts of Sunday was, let's even set the lack of control to one side, because you can begin to control a football match if you score at the right moments and you destroy the morale of the opposition. So I can understand a world in which a team might be set up to go and get 2 or 3 goals in front. And I think broadly, I don't know if it's still his plan, but this season, that was the plan for Arne Slot. There is a problem with that, though, that when you play Rio Ngamoa, who is 17 years old and has 1 goal and 1 assist that should have been an assist, but was offside in the handball in the Forest game. He's not prolific. And then on the other side, you've got Jeremy Frimpong, who, again, I love seeing him in attacking situations, 1v1. I love the pace. I love the ambition, but he is equally not a goal scorer. So you're in a situation where you've set up with 2 out of your front 3 are definitely not goal scorers. And then the other one is Cody Gakpo. So that's already what you're going into the game with. And then the game wears on. We're struggling to create chances in open play. He brings on Salah and Ekitike and the game has opened up. And then it gets even worse because there's rivers of space opening up in front of that Tottenham back 4. Massive opportunities to counterattack, like that one we saw in the 4th minute of added time when I don't know what's going through Ekitike's head. But I think like teams can go through periods of maybe lacking legs in midfield and not being able to control football matches entirely to the pace that they would like. But the unforgivable aspect for Liverpool, for me, is not looking able to score a goal, even when the game becomes stretched and you have opportunities on the counter-attack. Like, you know, it's useless now really to harp back on the days of Mane, Firmino, Salah. But you know, it was the red arrows. You knew that the ball was going to find the right guy and they were going to be unselfish. But so often I watch the decisions of players and I'm like, I can see exactly why you've chosen to do that. And it is absolutely the wrong choice. You know, so much head down, me, you know, especially with Ekitike, who I think he's been fantastic at times this season, but he also deserves proper criticism for how he's been in recent weeks. He's Ekitike's focus is Hugo Ekitike and how he can do well for Hugo Ekitike. And I think that's part of why we're unraveling on the counter-attack. So ultimately, the most frustrating thing to come out of the game was probably not even our inability to control it, but our inability to show any kind of potency in attack that would then allow us to take control of the game.
There's no killer instinct. Like there's none of that killer instinct up top anymore.
But did we expect it? A young 17-year-old, a right back, and a left winger who plays for a national country. Did we expect potency and efficiency?
Well, exactly.
Exactly. You know, and our next highest goal scorer was playing at right back.
Yeah.
Deep there. Keith, what was frustrating for you? The attack, and obviously we can't be too harsh on them because of random 3 just thrown in there. The lack of control of a fairly experienced midfield now. I guess I say fairly experienced midfield, but then you had Wirtz in there. Or the defense, which I thought was atrocious as well. I thought Virgil was awful. I thought Gomez was awful, and I thought Robertson was atrocious as well. What frustrated you? Because I've just mentioned all 3 positions sections of the team. What made you mad?
For me, what made me mad, and I think what made a lot of fans mad, which is why people started to leave, was because, and this has been a bit of an issue with us this season, is those 50-50s, man. Mm-hmm. When you are playing against Spurs, and this team is supposed to be depleted, they're supposed to be mentally on the floor, they're supposed to be defeated. Their last gasp chance is to basically go long. Like, in fairness, watching that Spurs game, that was the first time ever. Like, we played Spurs for years, right? We played them in Champions League, we played the Poch teams. They've always come to Anfield and they want the ball, right? They want to play the ball, they want to keep us in. And there's many times in the days of Kane, Dele Alli, where there was times where we would be boxed in, right? And we'd have to rely on counterattacks to get out. But Tottenham came there and they said, you know what, if we're going to be next to Burnley and Wolves and them, man, we're going to play like Burnley and Wolves and them, man. And they said, forget about playing around, and they kept launching it. But the problem is that second ball, McAllister's not, Wirtz is not winning it, or the bobble's going the other way, or it's deflecting because somebody's kind of mistimed the run, and that's what got Tottenham into the game in the first place. We just could not control any of the 50-50s that were coming in. It's no surprise that the equalizer ultimately comes from a long pass from Vicario, a knockdown. I believe it's from Robertson missed. Weird, I don't know what he does with the header. He should have been off. It was 80 minutes. He should have been off. He had a terrible game. I don't know what Slot was doing keeping him on the pitch. He had an awful game. He was awful in Galatasaray as well. So much for this rematanda that he was having. And it was that goal summarized the whole entire game and my frustration with this team. You know, it can't always be that, you know, we want to play teams that play on the floor or play out the back, and we want to be able to counter press them and win the ball high at the pitch. No, the Premier League season doesn't cater for that this season. The Premier League season is we get the ball up to our forwards as quickly as possible and we go from there. And we just don't deal with that this season. And that Tottenham game was a perfect example. I don't know what we expected Tottenham to do, but I wasn't surprised what they did. And it made us look like idiots.
Made us look like idiots. I felt like an idiot. Yeah. I felt embarrassed. I'm not going to lie. My head was gone. I hated Liverpool, and I haven't hated Liverpool in a long, long time. Honestly, I hated us. I thought we're dumb. I thought we're stupid. It was an awful performance. But I guess, Luz, there's no other option but to keep on moving forward. And then now we await Galatasaray in the second leg. People are letting us know, obviously, Man City are out now. Red card, Bernardo Silva, Real Madrid 1-0 up. Chelsea are losing about 15-2 on aggregate, something like that. I've just tweeted respect the Champions League, Chelsea.
What is going on? What is going on? This is the team. This is the top. This is a title challenger.
No, they're not title challengers.
Well,
I thought you meant Chelsea for a second.
No, not Chelsea. Not Chelsea. But Chelsea.
I was baffled then.
I've never seen the top four get this rattled in the Champions League.
For PSG are doing their customary surge into form, and if we manage to beat Galatasaray, we have PSG next. Galatasaray. If we Slot loses his job. Is there any part of your soul that wants that kind of result? So the manager goes,
no, I will never.
I just got to answer the job. Carry the fort, guys. One sec.
I will never ever be in a situation where I would want us to lose, just to get rid of the manager. Like, I don't agree with him, and I don't think he is the right man to take us forward, whether that's correct or not. In a year's time, I could be looking back going, why didn't we keep him? I made a mistake here, blah, blah, blah. But no, we've got to beat Galatasaray. I don't care if it means Slot stays or Slot goes. The Champions League is a must this season, progressing in it. And I think it's more of what it represents in terms of the team it is. I think if you lose to Galatasaray, who, for all they've had an outstanding season, for all they have sort of caught a few teams unawares, us twice, for example, Juventus, losing to that caliber of team in the round of 16 with the second leg at Anfield is so detrimental to not just this season, but I think the perspective around Liverpool, or the perception of Liverpool from outside, people looking in. Like, we're trying to attract big name players this summer because we can see the areas of the squad that need strengthening. We know we're going to be losing a few key players this summer. We could be losing Robbo, we could be losing Salah. There's no guarantee that Alisson 100% sticks around, even if he signed the new contract. There's key areas we're going to need to strengthen. Going out in this manner to Galatasaray would be so detrimental to the season. And I'm not even 100% convinced that if we lose to Galatasaray, that Slot's going anywhere. I honestly can see a world in which the club do still persevere until the summer and say, right, it can't get much worse. Let's just hold off and see what happens. But I don't know if anyone agrees or disagrees with it. But
I think if they were going to make a change, which, if we do lose to Galatasaray is a possibility. It's a possibility right now, for all we know. I mean, we know how risk averse FSG are, but I'm sure they're having conversations. I think if they're going to make a change, though, I've convinced myself that it would be in the international break. So it's almost, because remember, Brendan Rodgers got sacked after a very decent performance at Goodison Park in the Merseyside derby. It happened because it was the international break. Klopp was available. One thing led to another. So I'd think it was more likely, kind of irrespective of the result, win, lose or draw tomorrow night. And then at Brighton, if anything's going to happen, it would happen after that.
My take on that is, it's interesting. FSG are risk averse, but they're also risk takers, and not in the good way either. Like FSG over the years, we've had to come to terms with the fact that they will more than happily gamble with the season, whether it's squad players, where we're just a little bit short in this area, just a little bit short in that area, see how it goes, something happens, and then it turns into a calamity. Or they'll roll the dice, but they will only roll the dice if someone like a Jurgen Klopp becomes available. Now, my personal opinion is that I think they'll let Slot see it out, because the only difference between him and Brendan, I suppose, in a way, was like Slot keeps his powder dry when it comes to the sporting directors. Like, that's the only reason he survived, and Maresca and Amorim are not, is because Maresca and Amorim went after the sporting director.
They spoke out.
Yeah, they spoke out. Slot has kept his powder completely dry. You know what I mean? He's always praising the squad, praising the direction Liverpool are going in, never really complains about the fact that we are short in quite a number of positions. So, yeah, I think the only what kind of manager would have to become available for FSG to make that? Someone like Luis Enrique, which isn't going to happen. So, yeah, I think they'll give him. I mean, Galatasaray for me will be the beginning of the end. I'm past that, Keith. I don't think it's beginning of the end. I think the end. I think the beginning has already begun. I think it's just a matter of But if he puts a trophy on the table, the argument is
what fucking trophy? You're making me sweet. You've made me done it. How many minutes? How many minutes? Minute 30. Minutes 30. You've got me. You've got me.
Why can't we win a trophy?
Fucking trophies we're gonna win. Which trophy can you see Liverpool lifting, Keith?
We can win the FA Cup. We can win the Champions League.
My only caveat to it, my only argument to it is, and I know it's a different situation, but we saw when Kenny came in and we reached the FA Cup final, we won the League Cup, but we could still see that there was no future for him at the club, and the ownership could see there was no future. Like, I'm a big advocate of, if you're in a transition season or a down season, winning a trophy to sort of fill the gaps and keep you going is really important. But if the league is struggling, the Champions League is struggling, and there's no clear sort of indication that things are moving forward, just winning a trophy isn't going to suddenly change everyone's opinion on that.
And expectations. Expectations are in a very different place to where they were when we were being managed by Kenny Dalglish. You know, the revisionism around the summer window is really frustrating, but they did invest 450 million. 150 million came in, but they still, or 200 million, but they still invested that money. So the expectations are different, which means that if he was to put an FA Cup on the table, for argument's sake, or even a Champions League, and we managed to fluke it in the manner that we did in 2005, I don't think the owners are emotional. Like Keith was saying, they're not emotional enough to make the decision based on that. They want to protect their asset and the long-term value of that asset.
Okay, so let me give my opinion clearly, because I get to ask questions. I don't want to ask questions and answers. I want to be part of you guys, if you don't mind today.
Yeah, buddy.
No, but what is right? Look, I'm not one of these guys that is saying I want him gone regardless of what happens. I want him, or wanted him, to turn it around so badly. Honestly, I wanted him to turn it around. Now, Lola, you're suggesting, or we'll ask the rest of you guys as well, that even if we won the Champions League, you'd still want him gone. I'm totally against that. If he adds a Champions League, it won't be a fluke because of the caliber of teams still left now going through. So therefore, if miraculously, because I just cussed Keith for even suggesting we can win the Champions League, so I'm not going to hypocrite now and say, yeah, we've got a chance. But if we miraculously did win the Champions League, my God, that is some 2 seasons for a rookie manager replacing the greatest manager of all time in our lifetimes, Jurgen Klopp. Champions League and Premier League in the first 2 seasons. And then we'd start looking at the context. Winning a Champions League with all the turmoil and the tragedy and everything else, I would look at it completely different. FA Cup, not enough. League position, not enough. And Champions League, not enough. The only thing, in my opinion, that would salvage his job, save his job, is the Champions League. What about you guys?
Sorry, I was just reacting to the cheers from the Emirates Stadium, which has just pissed me off.
Oh God.
I would just say, though, I know this sounds ridiculous, but that there is an element of mutuality to it. I think what's caused me to think this is, which we discussed last week, they didn't stick the contract on the table after we won the title. They gave him a 3-year contract to start with. I reckon a lot of managers turned us down when they knew Jurgen Klopp was leaving, because who the F wants to follow Jurgen Klopp? Who wants to be that person? And my kind of working theory on what Arne Slot is and why I respect him so much is because I am now starting to see him in the category of coaches, along with Mourinho and Conte, as someone who comes in and in the short term can have a real galvanizing effect, can set things up in the short term to win. But I no longer see him as one of those dynastic managers that is going to stay at Liverpool for the next 10 years and win loads and loads of stuff. So even if he does win the Champions League, I still think Arne Slot might want to walk away at the end of the season. I think this whole season has fried his head. I think dealing with the events of the summer has been probably the hardest thing a Liverpool manager has had to do since Kenny Dalglish with Hillsborough. And I suspect there might be a fair amount of shaking hands and walking away. I'm sure Arne Slot would be a lot happier as manager of Barcelona, for argument's sake, where, you know, everyone plays nice football and he doesn't have to deal with low blocks. So I just think that Champions League or not, what we're not considering is that I don't think Slot is in there being like, please let me stay. I really, really want to stay.
I think you're right. I think it would have to be. I think it's going to be a mutual handshake. I don't think there's going to be animosity or sort of anything like that, and there shouldn't be. We're a very classy club, and I think it will be handled as in a classy way as possible. I mean, there's no other way of going about it. But we must progress tomorrow, guys. Are we progressing tomorrow? Are we going to at least win against Galatasaray? Are we going to go through? I'll come to Keith first. Keith, are we actually qualifying to even participate in a game of football against PSG?
Look. Ultimately, the good sides of Liverpool this season, the rare times we've seen some good in Liverpool, is usually when they start hard, start fast, get the goal early, and
How many times have you seen Liverpool do that?
Well, we did it against Everton, for example, when we went 2-0. We went 2-0 up, right?
Three games. We did
it as well. Villa, we did it. Like, we played. That's what I'm saying. Like, for when we can do it, the problem is going to become. I tell you this now. Look. For me, it's an early goal thing, right? Because the fans, you're going to hear the groans, right? 10, 20 minutes into the game, mistakes start appearing,
and that's their fault, and the manager's fault. That
Correct.
The groans will start very early.
Yeah, a mistake by Konate where he lets it go through his legs or something like that, it's going to create a negative atmosphere. So Liverpool have to score first and then go from there, right? And then whatever will be with this particular game. And, as much as everybody says, Galatasaray, we should beat Galatasaray. For me, I think the biggest equation at this moment is Victor Osimhen, right? And I think he is going to be a big problem. Liverpool historically never deal with strikers well against strikers like him. They always seem to have done well against us regardless. But it's an early goal thing. If we don't get that early goal, Grizz, I see us going out with a whimper. And in football, fairy tales often don't exist when it comes to the last dance. And there could be a real going off with a whimper, which would be such a shame because it's Virgil van Dijk, Salah, Alisson, Robertson, Szoboszlai, McKirkett, like they all, this is they told us all pre-season that it was about the Champions League, that it was about winning the Champions League or getting to the final of the Champions League. So to go out with a whimper, I think will have huge ramifications for the rest of our season, personally. So we have to get the early goal, Grizz. We have to strike fast. We just have to be a bit more clinical with with everything we do. Every second ball's we've got to be the one to win it. Do you know what I mean? Every chance we've got to be the ones to take it. And Liverpool haven't really done that this season by and large. Fluff plenty of opportunities and ultimately give the opposition the game. So it's not, we can't be arrogant. Maybe even I look back on that show we did on Friday and I thought to myself, wow, man, I was a bit gassed. Actually, I should have seen this coming.
Was you a little bit gassed? Was you first time?
I got a bit too gassed. This is the reality of the situation. We're just not been good in these type of games this season at all. So, yeah, it's tough, man. Even for my positivity, I'm definitely going to be at the pub watching that. I can't watch that at home.
And this is what I'm saying. If a man like Mr. Goldmouth is nervous and not confident, what say the rest of us, Lou? We have to win we have to pick a winning lineup between us. I'm not going to do an individual. Everyone pick the individual team. We have to because we love Liverpool. Listen, we are the Red Room. We represent Liverpool. We need Liverpool to progress. Forget slot for now. We need Liverpool Football Club in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. So we are the coaches. We are Arne's slot. We must pick a winning team tomorrow. I guess Alisson picks himself. Virgil picks himself. Konate picks himself. What are we doing at left back? Lou, I'll let you take the conversation with the left back. Because Robertson done the press conference today.
Yeah.
And what does that indicate?
To me, to be honest, I think Robbo would have been the one who was starting against Galatasaray anyway, personally. I would have had Kerkez against Tottenham and probably Robbo against Galatasaray, just because this match isn't going to come down to, for me personally, I might be completely wrong, I'm not as smart as everyone else, but it's not going to be a tactical battle. I don't see it as it's going to be we're going to need people to play in a certain way. I think this is going to need leadership and it's going to need physicality. And I think Robbo at the moment, he understands what it means to be in these situations. He understands what it means to be in these kind of scenarios, having to come back to Anfield and play a big part in making sure that we can get through, like Barcelona in 2019. The fact that we're having to compare Barcelona and Galatasaray, or I am, is ridiculous. But I think Robbo should be the one for me starting this match. I know he played 90 minutes the other day, but we've got Brighton soon. That feels like it's more suited to Kirkes. Then we've got, I think it's Fulham after that, and then we're on the international break.
We've got international break after Brighton.
Is it after Brighton? Have we not got the... All right, okay. So yeah, for me, I think Robbo starts this one, and then I think it'll be Kirkes against the Brighton, personally.
Rest of you lot, are we forgetting Robertson was... Look, praise Robertson, the greatest fullback of my era, Liverpool time, like greatest left back. Even I'm not old enough to remember Steve Nicol and the man. So, but Robertson, he done the press conference though, guys. What does this mean? I don't get it.
That's what's swaying me. Yeah.
I don't think it. Has there been occasion where the guy who does the press conference doesn't play mind games? No. Why would play mind games with Robertson?
I mean, the only one I can think of is Gakpo, and Gakpo plays every game. But I don't think he will play simply because the manager must plan for 120 minutes. And that was a mistake he made against PSG last season, was not holding back ammunition with the view that it could go to extra time. And Andy Robertson will have to come off at some point if the game does go to extra time. So I think you start with the freshness, you start with the legs, and you have the knowledge that if you are either defending a lead or, you know, you really need someone to come and grab the game by the scruff of the neck, that you then have Andy Robertson. But I think so much of the thinking around tomorrow must be around what ammunition are we going to have if the game does go the distance, because I see 2-1 and losing on penalties to Galatasaray written all over tomorrow, quite frankly.
Oh, God, that's going to hurt, man. Keith,
oh, man.
Kirkes, one for Kirkes, one for Robbo. What about you? Yes. I mean, I thought he's nailed on Kirkes, but the press conference has thrown me off because he done the press conference. I don't know now.
Yeah, I think so. I think the press conference is an interesting insight, but I would be shocked if Kirkes doesn't start, to be honest.
This is it, though.
I just don't think it's not even about what Robertson brings to the table. For me, it's just about the performances I've seen in the last couple of games. You know, I think sometimes with Robertson, you know, games can pass him by. I thought the errors, he was quite error prone against Galatasaray in the away leg. I'd be shocked if he starts, to be honest. But I can see the thinking behind it. But I just think that, yeah, actually, he would be one that could come on in the second half, or like Lola said, like more for extra time to kind of really kind of push us on if we need him. But I don't think he deserves to start based on the last two appearances. So Kirkes for me.
I'm just thinking way ahead, bro. Who's taking a penalty out of the two, do you think? If it came to a penalty shootout.
Out of Kirkes and Robbo?
Yeah.
Obviously, Robbo. You wouldn't want Kirkes anywhere near it.
No.
That's the River Mersey, that is.
I think he raised himself as a penalty taker. I'm telling you, he'd nominate himself.
He's landing in the Hill Dickinson Stadium.
It probably is. All right. Look, I thought it was Kirkes, but the Robertson press conference has totally thrown me. Okay, we go with Kirkes. Right back, Lou. What are we doing right back? So it looks like Gomez is out, so we can't even Gomez. We can't put Gomez right back because Gomez is out.
I'm caught in two minds because on one side, I want to start Frimpong straight away and just have it be a case of attack, put pressure on them early doors. He's got that recovery pace going forward and back. But then there's a small part of me that's thinking, are we going to start with a Szoboszlai there again and then bring Frimpong on later on because Salah was taken off early, so I imagine he's going to play the full 90. I want probably Frimpong because I just don't want to see Szoboszlai at right back anymore. I'm done with the experiment. It'd have to be Frimpong, I think, for me personally. And then if you need to rotate later on and maybe stick Jones there or something, you can. But yeah, Frimpong for me starting this one.
Yeah, I think Gomez might have been an option for right back, but with his injury, it's literally Frimpong or Szoboszlai. I don't think he's even thinking about Curtis Jones. Well, maybe he might. I don't know. We don't know with this guy at the moment. Lola, what's your opinion?
Has to be Frimpong. I hear what Lou's saying about you. It'd be lovely to have Frimpong in your back pocket if you still need a goal. But I think, while we've got to take the view that this game could go the distance, I do think we need to go out and try and win it. And ideally, we need to try and get a goal in the first half, which we've been really bad at doing so far this season. And I think Frimpong helps your case with that. And like everyone else, don't want to see Szoboszlai at right back. I want to see him in the middle of the park, and I want to see him pulling Torreira's pants down and making him look like the Premier League flop that he actually is.
Do we have a clean sweep, Keith, or are you doing Szoboszlai?
No. Szoboszlai right back, please. Enough.
Okay, that's easy. Gravenberch is easy. Szoboszlai is easy.
Yeah.
And then it's McAllister, Jones, or Wirtz, I guess. Or is there any other talking point or debate to be had?
That's what I'd like to see, but that's not what ultimately I think we're going to see.
Is it Jones?
I think it's going to be Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, and Florian Wirtz picking up on the left. Or on the left for me. I think that's where.
You actually think he's gonna drop Gakpo?
Gakpo will be the one potentially to make way for Ekitike. It depends on how fit Ekitike is.
No, he's fine.
He's fine. Then
Gakpo's played. He's played at this point because he started the Spurs game. He's played an awful lot of 90s. Yeah. So it is possible that, as much as he's got the manager.
Can I say something not controversial, but say how it is? Like, I can't give a shit about controversial anymore. Wirtz doesn't deserve to start. Since his return of his injury, he's been atrocious, guys.
Yeah.
Let's not hold back here.
But I'm having him in there, Grizz, because what I want is for the team sheet to drop, and I want Galatasaray to go, oh shit, they're going for it here. And I think if we've all said an early goal is so important, do I think Liverpool are more likely to score an early goal with Florian Wirtz on the pitch and Frimpong at right back? Yes. So I would be starting Florian Wirtz.
The fact he only played 64 minutes the other day as well sort of tells me that he will start him for this one.
But Grizz, doesn't Wirtz deserve to play himself back into a bit of form? I mean,
he does. I just hate him, everyone. I hate all of them at the moment, Keith. That's what it is.
when he didn't take that shot, when Engamoa plays him in, and I'm thinking, 160 million pounds, just take the shot. Trying to be too clever. The thing that annoys me most about Florian Wirtz, and this is even when he's been playing really well, is he shoots. Like when a big kid's playing football with little kids and they don't want to hurt them, it's like, just kick the football. Easy for me to say, I know, but just
no. He's going to learn. No. You're spot on. Sorry, Luke.
Yeah,
you're spot on. But I think he's going to learn. This has been such a massive learning because I can tell he is a student of the game, and he will learn all the mistakes he's made and the errors he's made. I very quickly before you go, Lou. Keith, I totally disagree with Wirtz on the left. I don't think if we want a quick start and we want to see a team sheet where Galatasaray, I think, that it's got to be Wirtz behind Gakpo, Salah, and Ekitike, in my opinion.
But you're saying that there. You're saying, and it's the same thing everyone's saying, is we want a quick start. We are going to attack. We are going to push forward. Is Slot going to do that though? Is that the way that he's going to play?
We're losing, Lou.
I think he will. I think that's what he'll want. It's whether the players have the belief that they can execute is obviously going to be. Arne Slot doesn't turn into a cautious coach overnight. I know he's been pragmatic this season, but I think the instructions is going to be to go for it. Whether the players can actually execute it or not is going to be whether they feel they can. Mentally, physically. Or like I said earlier on, maybe that message that Slot saying go out there and attack is just not touching their hearts, and they don't see it when they go to the pitch.
You say like, are they going to do it? Are they going to go out? Make a fast start? They don't have a choice. This is a cup competition.
No, they don't.
Second leg of a cup competition, and we're 1-0 down. Like, we have to.
No, they don't have a choice. But my thing is Slot going to look at this and think, right, we look at the first game that we played against Galatasaray and how we took our time, we built it up, and then we still created chances. Is he going to sort of just go to them and say, right, we have to immediately push forward, we have to get the goal and just kill it stone dead? Or are we going to bide our time, make sure we control the tempo of the game, and eventually, like we have been seeing in matches, to be fair, chances will open themselves up. It's just down to you to finish it.
Our most dangerous period in the game in Galatasaray was the first 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So imagine how differently we would have felt if Wirtz puts one of those chances in. So I just think don't leave the if buts and maybes for later in the game. Go and give it. If the early attacking frontier doesn't work, then you make your changes, whatever. But I think there's just if you look at how the game went in Turkey, clearly there's kind of early vulnerability, so you've got to go for it.
We have to exploit it.
If that's the case, and how we're describing events that are likely or what we want, it's got to be Gravenberch and Szoboszlai in midfield.
Yeah, 100%.
McAllister's again been one of his.
That's where he should be. That, you know what, right? For me, what's made the Szoboszlai right back at times this season, look okay, is that I believe Szoboszlai's distribution, that direct distribution, those long balls, those crossfield passes, etc. He is very good at them, and I don't think we exploit that enough. In my opinion, when he's playing further up the pitch, I don't think he's necessarily been. He's been good at making those kind of like second or third man runs.
I agree.
But I think in the pockets, in that creativity section, I don't think he's been that good further upfield. That's why I hope we start to exploit Szoboszlai in a slightly deeper area.
But that's where Jones is at his best as well, and he doesn't utilize Jones there. That's where McAllister is much better, and he doesn't utilize McAllister's there. McAllister, Jones, and Szoboszlai have all got good technical ability, strong on the ball. I say McAllister strong on the ball. He's been an absolute wimp on the ball recently. But yeah, I think you agree that they're far better, deeper than in the 10. Wirtz is really our only attacking who's good in the 10. Szoboszlai, yeah. But I don't know if he's going to drop McAllister, guys. I think Gakpo will start on the left. I think Salah will be on the right. And I think Ekitike will be through the middle, obviously. It's that scenario in midfield. Will he drop McAllister or will he play Wirtz? Who does he keep in backup? Because McAllister's awful sub.
But McAllister would take a penalty. Yeah. McAllister would absolutely be the change you'd want to take a penalty. And by the way, I think Rio could start. I actually think Rio could start because he's got to hold back one of the attackers at least for if it does go to extra time. So I think given Ekitike didn't start against Spurs, I would expect him to start this game.
Definitely.
Mo Salah is the fittest player in our squad and will be running more at minute 120 than anyone else. So the one place in the team where you think, you know what, kid, go and give him hell for 60 minutes and then come off and we'll bring the experienced guy on who we'd want to take a penalty anyway. I think he starts Rio.
So Gakpo, Chiesa, Jones,
McAllister
would be our subs, go-to subs. Be realistic.
Andy Robbo in there as well.
It's just when he'll play him. I actually completely. I think that's a great idea, But the question will be: will he play him? I don't know, man.
You did take him off after what, 60, 70 minutes?
Yeah, I wonder if the club is a bit shook after what's happened with Jadon Danns and Stefan Berchasic. You know what I mean? Like they were the two next up, really. And I just wonder.
Everyone knows what I thought of Stefan Berchasic from the start.
Yeah. But he had all right.
You've got options who can play on, like, at least is this Ngamoa? Yeah. He, at least with him, you can make shift options onto the left wing if you need to cover him, like Wirtz, Gakpo. You can drift Ekitike out there if you need to. Whereas, Dan's, you can't. There is no sort of rotation option. Vadstit's same with him. Like it's. If there's a problem there and you have to get him off, you can at least find a way to compensate for it.
I think that's our team.
Yeah, I think people saying, Slot's not going to do it.
Sorry, Lola.
I think like this could be the Tottenham selection was actually a bit of a Hail Mary selection. Didn't work out, but it was because he did what we've all been crying out for him to do, which is put pace in wide areas. So I'm not saying he's sat here watching the Red Room. Maybe he is. And if he is here, Arne, welcome. Sorry, we've been trashing you for the last 55 minutes.
You guys have, not me.
But I think
Lola, that you just said about Tottenham's lineup being a bit of a Hail Mary. Do you think he looked at that result that Chelsea lost at home and thought to himself, do you know what? I'm gonna gamble here. I can gamble here and still be well within the top 4, top 5 areas, because you're right. It was a bit of a Hail Mary. Frimpong on the right, Engema on the left, Gakpo through the middle. Like, it wasn't a team that was trying to effectively get 3 points and try and challenge for something in the league, and because we're not there, right? But around us, like the draw didn't affect us. So I wonder if that Hail Mary, you're right, that
I agree.
Tottenham game was experiment.
I agree. It was an experiment. I think it came from the right place. I don't think it was like I can afford to rotate, I can afford to drop points, because I think he knows he couldn't really against Tottenham at home. But I do think that we've all been frustrated all season of the same things, selecting McAllister, selecting Gakpo, and he did, not with those specific players, but he did deviate away from some of the decisions that have been frustrating us. So I do think he's aware now that his job is on the line. And look, to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results is the definition of insanity. So I just believe that he's a smart man and that he will put out the best team that he thinks can beat Galatasaray over 120 minutes. And that is this team.
Yeah, that's that. Put this away. Let's get to the matters that people really, really want to talk about, and that's the head coach situation. We've discussed it just before we went live. Dave and Trev Downey went live with an Anfield Index exclusive of a bit of news with regards to our head coach search for a head coach, I guess, even though we haven't got rid of the current one. But listen, searches need to be done. What's the word? Due diligence. Yeah. Due diligence. The talk of the town obviously is Xabi Alonso. And then I messaged Lola earlier to say that I know you really, really desperately want Xabi Alonso, but I think I don't know. I think we're gonna speak to a few. And Anfield Index, as I said, broke in the show before us that we've got in touch with. How do you pronounce his name now, guys? The Stuttgart manager,
Sebastian Hoeneß.
Sebastian. If there's any Germans watching, please help us out in the chat and tell us how you actually pronounce the actual name.
I think it's Hoeneß. I don't think it's Hoeneß. But that's me with absolutely no knowledge of the German language. I just have a feeling that those funny little symbols might mean that it's an rather than an O.
Okay, that's a shout. Lou, do you want to be brave and give us your version of the pronunciation?
Hoeneß?
Graham Hoeneß.
Hoeneß. Yeah, I haven't a clue. I'm trying to see if I can find what's the thing called where you can sort of sound out the word.
Pronunciation.
Yeah.
Keith.
It's Hoeneß.
Hoeneß. Okay. Well, listen, the Stuttgart manager, who's done a fantastic job at Stuttgart, brought them up from, I believe, the second tier, right? We've spoken to his people, inquired about him, call it what you want. Listen, it seems like despite the noise of David Ornstein, etc., and club mouthpieces, don't know if I should say that, but club journalists, patch journalists, that slot will be or seems to be safe in terms of under the FSG eyes. Under FSG eyes, I think we are doing our due diligence in the background, and I think we are preparing ourselves for a change at the coaching level. Lou, you said to me that you've done a bit of research on him, or he's one of your contenders that you'd want to be interested in. I'll give a couple of minutes for you to tell us why and what.
Well, I did like a thing on my channel a few months ago when I was doing like 10 managers who could replace him. And he's the most... the reason Slot came in is because he supposedly sort of fits the similar model to what Klopp was. He was the closest he could find that sort of didn't sway too far. Sebastian, I'm going to call him Sebastian, is so much in the Klopp ilk in terms of the aggressive football that he wants to play. It's very front-footed, but he's also very tactically diverse. So he'll often sort of do like a 3-2-5 sort of style in attack where it's two holding midfielders, a back three. He likes his wing backs to push forward, which sort of suits the likes of Kerkez and Frimpong. But he enjoys having his free attacking players, his wingers and his strikers, all tuck in very narrow and play off the shoulder of the last man. He's very astute in terms of he can change to a 4 at the back. He's so the problem we've had this season has been when plan A doesn't work, there has been no plan B. Sebastian is very much just plans A to F. Like he's got a different setup for everything. What he's done at Stuttgart, taking them from battle and relegation to competing for the league title in the Bundesliga last season, finishing second on 73 points, which is the highest points total they've had since ever. That is the highest ever points total in any division in the club's entire history. He's won them the DFB Pokal, which is the first piece of major silverware. They're fighting for Champions League this season. Like, the work he's done in developing the club in just 2 years, it hasn't even been 2 years. He joined in April 2024. And it just feels like he's got that sort of feel-good factor about him. He wants numerical advantages in the middle of the pitch, in midfield in particular. The minute they lose the ball, they want to win it back. It's all about playing between the lines. It's front-footed. And defensively, he does like having his two holding midfielders, but he also wants his wing backs to tuck in at times to just completely overload midfield. And then when going to attack and transitions, play spreads out and then narrows in again. And it feels as though the way that he sets up his teams suits so many of our players. I don't know. I think it's just, maybe it's the Bundesliga links. Maybe it's just because of the sort of the slot issues we're having at the moment. But having that kind of attacking imagination from a manager just feels so fresh and new that maybe I've sort of got rose-tinted glasses on, but it's just, it feels as though he would be a great fit for the club in terms of the work he's done at Stuttgart, the attacking football he plays, the way he's tactically diverse and can operate. And you look at the Stuttgart's top scorer last season, Grizz, he scored 30 goals, which is the most any player has scored in a season for Stuttgart since Fritz Walter back in 1981. Like, he brings the best out of players, and I'd be excited to see what he could do with the likes of Ekitike, Wirtz, Frimpong, Kerkez, Szoboszlai. It just feels like it'd suit them brilliantly.
Lola, you're blowing your nose trying to pretend that you've got a cold. Really, you're distraught and crying at the thought of Xabi Alonso not being Liverpool coach. But know anything about this cat?
Well, I like when you messaged me, I looked into him. And look, he sounds great, he looks great, the football looks great, the record with Stuttgart looks great. I think the thing that gives me pause, not only how much I want Xabi Alonso, which is, by the way, more of a kind of reflection on me as the era in which I grew up in. He's one of my heroes. And I kind of long for that emotional connection with the manager again that we had for so long with Klopp. Arne, for me, ticks every box based on, I read a Coach's Voice article about how he likes to set up. I'm sure he could get a lot out of our group, and you wouldn't see me complaining if he was announced as a manager. My only problem would be we're already in a situation where whoever comes in is going to be compared to Jurgen Klopp, and that is difficult for whoever it is, and it's been difficult for Arne Slot. That becomes even more difficult if you are a dynamic young German manager who wears a cap, has a beard, plays full throttle, attacking, pressing football. And I just think how could he be as good as Jurgen Klopp? This is like, it'd have to be Shankly to Paisley and then Fagan. And, I just think you're setting him up for a really difficult challenge because we know what the media are like. The comparisons would be there from the start. And that to me feels really, really difficult for him to deal with.
I think Peter makes the most relevant point after your analysis and Lou's extensive analysis. It's all gone to pot because Peter says, plus he wears a baseball cap. So that puts all of your analysis and opinion to shade, really. Keith, are you on the Hunes train, or is there anyone else that comes to mind? Or
Listen,
are you Alonso? Are you Alonso stan? Are you Alonso stan? I can't remember.
What's the question? I'm really reveal too much in terms of like who would I have next. But first of all, Liz, that was greatly researched. So well done. I learned more in that 5 minutes that you told me about wholeness than I have this entire time. I wasn't even aware of half of it. But hearing you talk about him and all the things that he does and the way he's pragmatic, etc., reminds me of the time we were hearing about Arne for the first time, right? And I feel like he's in that mold in terms of a very interesting, young coach ready to come up. And for me personally, I just think the next appointment has to be quite a big appointment. Like, I think it really just has to be a big manager.
Name, you mean? Like a name.
I really do think it has to be a big manager. It has to be a big name. We have to be, in my opinion, enticing the best managers that are out there that are going to be available in the summer. I think we should take our time with this. I don't think this is something where, we sack on the slot now and then try and replace him with someone to fill the void for the next 7 games. I think the summer, there's going to be a lot of interesting coaches that are going to become available. And it'll be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what other coaches become. What happens, say Luis Enrique wins the Champions League again. What does he want to do next? Does he want to stay at PSG? Does he still want to create a dynasty there, or does he want to move on? You look at the German manager, does he win Germany the World Cup, for example, and ultimately becomes or gets them playing a style of football that we all fall in love with throughout the World Cup. Maybe they get knocked out in the semi-finals or the quarterfinals, but we've watched it and we're like, yeah, this is the style of football Liverpool need to play. So I think there's going to be, it's something that we need to take our time with. If you were to ask me, like, hand on heart, like gun to my head, who would I say? I agree with Lo. I think it's Xabi Alonso, because I think Xabi Alonso has a point to prove. His time at Real Madrid was a steep learning curve, but he needed that. That to deal with these situations and to deal with these personalities. I think he would have grown from that. And I think Liverpool's the perfect, setting for him. He's protected, he's isolated. Like, quite frankly, when Liverpool won the Champions League in 2005, right, I was in high school. So players like Xabi Alonso, high school and below, were the kids that watched 2005 Champions League. And he is a hero, right? He's a cult hero. Like, we all have affinities with him. It's questionable as when he left and stuff, but we'll leave that. But he did prove himself to win the Bundesliga title. Now, if we're going to talk about an alignment with Klopp, he was the last person since Klopp to win the Bundesliga except Bayern Munich. So that in itself is an accolade. He took Bayern Leverkusen. He almost won them everything, right? He knew what it took to fight on multiple fronts. If that's, what I mean. And I know people think 3 at the back. Will it work? Will it not? I'd hope that he'd be more pragmatic with the squad that he gets given. But I think for the club, I think that is the type of side that would galvanize. And he is a world-class manager at the end of the day. And he's a world-class person within football. This is a World Cup winner. This is a Euros winner. This is a Champions League winner. Played all the biggest clubs.
People know him. Like, players would listen to him. They would, like you said about Slot, maybe the message is not going through. People, when Xabi Alonso would tell Curtis Jones or Szoboszlai to do this, they would listen because this is Xabi Alonso.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. He did it. He lived the career that Szoboszlai could only, he dreams of, I'm sure, going to Bayern Munich and Real Madrid in his future time. Xabi did that. Do you know what I mean? So if they want to get there, if they want to get to the next level, who better to do that? And Slot, everyone hates what Slot has to say, right? I know everyone hates his press conference, but he has repeated multiple times that the future is bright for Liverpool. And I think that is a true statement. The future is bright for Liverpool. We have a lot of good players, a lot of good young players, a lot of good opportunity. But, Xabi Alonso could be the person, right place, right time, and the thing with Xabi Alonso as well, which would be interesting, is the old guard are going out, right? So the old guard are going out. The shift's already happening. Mm-hmm. So the Salah problem's not a Salah problem next season. Do you know what I mean? Like Virgil van Dijk, he'll probably still be the captain, the leader, etc. But Andy Robertson, he'll be gone as well. You know what I mean? There'll be players that will be gone. So he can come in there with young players who said they've only been at Liverpool 1 to 3 seasons max and can work with them. They doesn't have the baggage necessarily of what Slot had to deal with.
The future is bright for Liverpool, says Arne Slot and Keith Cross. Let's find out. Let's keep an eye on Galatasaray tomorrow, first and foremost, and then Brighton away. I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for cheering me up, Lewis, Keith, Lola. I've really enjoyed today's show. It's over an hour and 10, bloody hell, hour and 10 minutes. I'm falling asleep here, not because I'm bored, but because I'm physically shattered. It's day 28 of Ramadan, 2 days to go. Not long. So I'm absolutely battered and shattered. I must take rest because Liverpool play football tomorrow, and that's going to sap a lot of energy, I feel. It's going to sap a lot of energy. This has been another episode of Red Room. Hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as us. Still 1,500 of you watching on Twitter. I don't know how many on YouTube, don't know how many on Facebook, but smash a like, leave lovely comments, leave nasty comments. I'll just block you. Just be wasting your time. Peace, love, and tranquility to you. Take care. Good night.